Dear Dharma friends and all practitioners, today it's the third day after retreat in Dallas in March 2025. It's the time the first sessions of questions and answer, sharing experience in practice. I want to remind everybody the 10 criteria to practice patriot Zen. The 10th criteria is you need to follow the experienced ones in practicing a patriot Zen. We don't just do it ourselves and try to practice without the guidance. And we don't put in our own intentions when practicing. We don't put in our own opinions in our direction of practice. It's just like when you're doing a business, you're selling milk. At first, milk is pure milk. The second one, selling milk, can put some water, half and half, and now milk becomes saturated and less percent of milk, 50-50. And after the few times of mixing milk with water, then the milk will become less and less. It's not pure milk anymore. So when we practicing, sometimes we practice and we feel like we achieve something. We thought that we benefit from something in our practice, and we don't detach ourselves from those achievements, and eventually we still attach ourselves to the ego and all those understanding, and we going in that direction. When we have practicing this patriot Zen, we need to make enlightenment as a goal, and we need to detach ourselves from all of those thinking in the mind. When we're practicing and we feel like we understand everything, we are better than every others who are not practicing or just new practicing. That is the ego that we're following. We practicing the patriot Zen, we must detach ourselves from all those attachments. When we still see that we're better than someone else, or we are achieving something, those are just the product of your mind, your thinking. That is not the belief in a Buddha nature. And that is not the right way of practicing the patriarch Zen. That's why we need to be really careful when we doing the practice. We need to get enlightenment, set that as our goal. And what is the enlightenment? There's an example in the booklet of how to practice the patriarch stance. The patriarch make an example that a smart Korean dog will chase after the bones. However, the lion will bite the one who throw out the bones. So that is an example. All those words from the Buddha or the Sutra are just the bones. And if we just running after the understanding of words, understanding of the Buddha and patriarchs, we are the dog running after the bones. But based on that bones that been thrown out, we saw the people who throwing the bones and bite the person who throw out the bones. And that is a lion. So when we can get enlightenment, which means when the cloud is clear, the sky, then the sun will be appearing. So as a practitioners who know the directions, we share the directions with all new practitioners. However, if you are the person who get enlightenment ahead, then you can come back and help others who have not got the enlightenment. So as the practitioners who have a chance to meet this special methods of patriarch Zen, that is the cause and effect that we have done for several lives. As Duy Lực Zen Masters always consider himself as a learner and always lower himself to talk to other people. So if you have any questions or want to share your experience, go ahead and speak up. Kim Hoan, go ahead.
Con kính thưa quý thầy, kính thưa quý sư cô cùng toàn thể đại chúng. Xin thầy cho con trên cái công vụ của mình.
I'd like to share my experience in practicing. This morning, many practitioners have shared their experience in practicing continuously and diligently. All thinking are just the elusive creation of the mind. When we're doing our patriarch Zens, our doubt will sweep up all the thinking for us. As my experience when I'm doing the practice, when I ask the questions before the heaven and the earth come to existence. What was I? My habits are always there and repeated itself when I'm practicing all those thinking memories from previous they just come out and in front of me and feel like all those elusive thinking is always there, even though my mind is always asking the questions. However, the questions is not clearly, but when I ask a question clearly, seem like my questions also elusive thinking of the mind. Is that right? When we chasing after the elusive thinking, we going on the wrong path of practicing. But when you focus on the doubts and the pre-thinking aspect of the mind, then your practice will go in toward the right direction. It's just like Wisdom Zen Master said that when you have a debt, um, the the heavier debt you have to pay ahead, and the lighter one you can pay later. So it's the same when you practicing, when you paying too much to the elusive thinking of the mind, then you going in that direction. But when you come back to your practice and pay attention to the free-thinking aspect of the mind, then you go in toward that direction. It's just like an example when you driving to your work from home, on the way going to your work, the traffic can be different. Sometimes you can go through the traffic. Sometimes you have a traffic jam and you have to go slower. We just go along with everything that's going on in the traffic. We don't put in our intentions or our emotions when we driving. So anything that going on is going on. Just the one that from outside. It's just like when you have the disease in your eyes are nasal and you see sparkles in the air. The space have no sparkles. However, the roots of the problem is from your eyes. You need to fix your own eyes in order to not seeing those sparkles anymore. So when you know that you have a disease, you have to take the medications. When you know that you have a problem, you take the medications until you recover from your conditions. When you believe in the doctor diagnosis and take the doses of medications, you have to believe the doctor and the medications in order to heal your own disease. If you still doubt the patient's the directions of the doctors, and you just keep fighting some other doctors and not trying the medications, then it can be a problem for your diseases. So because you always have that fear and something that you asking for is still there, that's why you always have that feeling of frustrations when doing a practice. Sometimes you not really focus on your practice, you focus on those frustrations. As the third patriarch said that the Dharma, the way to the Dharma is not hard just because you don't believe in your own Buddha nature. So the way to go to our goal is not hard. The way to get enlightenment is not hard. Just because of the thinkings that we so familiar with are always there to lure us away from our practice. You don't believe in your own Buddha nature, and you don't believe in the cause and effect that your own cause and effect, and you thought that those uh, those thinkings are something that you so it's just like um,
con xin bổ sung
the traffic jam. We
thì
still
thầy cũng giống như sư phụ cũng đã từng dạy là vọng tưởng
wait
là một cái
until it's
vô
clear
tâm.
and going.
Thì lúc đó trong
Is that
thực
understandable?
hành có nghĩa là khi vọng tưởng tới thì mình
So
nghĩ
um,
vẫn là
I listen to you and the master as you look
trong cái thời gian
when the elusive thinking
không phải là giống như những cái suy nghĩ hàng ngày hay là
comes
cái
and
tình hoặc là những
just ignore them.
mà nó liên quan tới những câu
But recently,
nó
when I
rất là sâu sắc
um,
cũng giống những cái mà cái suy nghĩ rất là giống như
when
của mình
I'm
nó
thinking,
nó nhiều á, vì vậy cho nên
when I'm practicing, I ignore all of those elusive thinking. However, recently, all those elusive thinking is feeling like it came from my previous life and my everything that when we had from the young age, and they all appear in front of me. It's just like when I taught my younger patients to do the practice, and during the practice, I feel like those elusive thinking is always there, and I try to go back to my practice and just let those practice going. When you practicing, the habit have been there for several lives, and now it's coming back and interfere with our practice. This is why the patriarch said that the normal person practicing, the goal is the same as the saint practicing. However, the way of practicing is different. When the saint practicing, they always think about practice. However, for the normal person, even though we do that the practice is necessary, however, we still have some problem when we practicing. When all of those elusive thinking going on, sometimes we running after them and we won't be able to practice correctly. It's just like a dark room. When you turn on the lights, all the darkness will be disappeared. And even though you see everything are not neat in the room, however, your room is light up already. Now it's just a time to clear your room and put everything back in order. So that is like an example that the patriarch said that just like you taking care of your own ox, you have to be careful when you doing a practice. Don't let your thinking or your mind interfere with your practice and trick you. Tammy, go ahead. As I understand, when we practicing, which means we're making our mind weaker, when we asking questions, but still from our elusive thinking. That's why I feel a little bit hesitated to ask questions. When I'm asking questions, I thought that that's the elusive thinking of the mind, and I don't want to ask the questions. However, when I think of what Duy Zen Master said, when you still asking questions, which means you still not believe in your own Buddha nature. That's why when I'm asking questions, I am afraid that the elusive thinking is still there. Could you give us some words of encouragement? In the booklet of how to practice the patriarch Zen, when you're practicing, should not running after the knowledge or understanding. It's just because you always running after your mind, your thinking. This is why there's always the conflicts in the family between brother and brother, sister and sister, and brother and sister. And that's a conflict between one family and another family, or between one country and another country. That is the result of all conflicts in this world. Buddha said that all three realms are from the creation of this mind. Everything are just a creation of this mind. Those are just the words. However, when we do in the practice, when we asking questions and raising doubts, the doubt sweep up everything for us. However, based on the practicing of asking questions and raising doubt, sometimes we have the problem, but based on our practice, we asking the questions. Based on our practice, we're listening to the Dharma talk. This is why Trung Phong Zen Master said that we need to have the eyes of wisdom, open our eyes with them, seeing through our mind, and practice diligently. We always pay attention to the practice. However, we need to make a vow to practice and practice. At first, people, when they came to this practice of the Patriarch Zen, they make a really strong mindset and want to practice and practice all the time. They bow down and hit their head on the ground to make a vow to practice. However, later on, when they achieve something, they running after those achievements, those thinkings, and then you forget about your practice. It's just like the Monkey King in the story Tôn Ngộ Không is always want to be the king of heavens. That's why he's always running after his power. That's why we need to ask questions when you have problem, when we practice, so we can have the guidance to go on the right path. So when we have the answer for our problem, we're going back to practice, and we will continue to practice on the right path. And when you're practicing, your thinking mind will be slower and disappear, then your Buddha nature will appear eventually.